My movie for this project was We Are Marshall, and this film was about a football team from Marshall University that was in a plane crash on November 14th, 1970. This was a real event, and the movie did a great job, in my opinion, of showing what actually happened, even though there were differences. This plane crash killed 75 people, which included the flight staff, players, coaching staff, fans, and booster members of Marshall University. And the movie shows how Huntington, West Virginia was left to mourn a huge part of their community and how they chose to go about the football program after losing the whole team, basically. In the cinematography of the film, I think that they did a great job. I think that the way that they portrayed things fit and just made sense in how they did it. For example, like with the scene with the plane crash, they decided to do a blackout when the plane was actually crashing, and they kind of skipped to the next chapter of the movie. And personally, I like that choice where they skipped the actual crashing part because everyone that was in the crash died, so no one was there to tell what happened in the crash since everyone passed away. So personally, I think that was a really smart choice on the director's part to do that. With the cast, Matthew McConaughey played the head football coach, Jack Langell, who took over the program. And personally, I think he did a good job, but I think he was too goofy for his character. I think his character should have been played a little more seriously. In an article, it also said that the real football coach wasn't as goofy as he was, so it wasn't just that was how the head coach was. It was just kind of a casting choice. So I think personally he should have been more serious given the circumstances of the movie. Matthew Fox played Red Dawson, who was the assistant football coach, and Anthony Mackie played Nate Ruffin, who was a main player that they both didn't get killed in the crash because they happened to not be on that flight. And I think they were really important in this film because they truly showed what it was like to grieve the people that they were surrounded with 24/7. And Red Dawson, the assistant football coach, actually was in denial and he wanted to walk away from the team, and which are all very realistic and understandable choices that would have happened in real life, in the real event. So I really liked those characters because they really showed what it truly meant to lose your whole football program overnight. There were two composite characters that the film used to portray the whole town's feelings instead of when they couldn't use everyone in the town in the movie, and that was the characters of Paul Griffin and Annie Cantrell, who Paul Griffin lost a son on the team, and then Annie Cantrell lost a fiance, and even though that didn't actually happen, they did a great job showing what it would have felt like and making it relatable to how the townspeople and the families of these football players would have felt. The accuracy of this movie there were some differences, but I think it was mostly because it was a movie. Since the movie was in 2006 and the actual event happened in 1970, there were some differences due to just the huge time gap. Like, they had to film in a different stadium because the Marshall University one was torn down, and there were just some other little differences, like how they identified the plane as Marshall University's. In real life, they found a wallet and had to confirm with a radio station that it was a player of Marshall University, and in the movie, they just found a playbook that said Marshall University on it. So that was just a small difference that, personally, in my opinion, I don't know why they made that choice, because it was such a small difference that they could have made it real, but it could have been changed, in my opinion. There were a couple scenes in the movie that didn't actually happen. There were there was a scene where they chanted "We Are Marshall" outside of a board meeting to decide if the football program was to stay or not. And the "We Are Marshall" chant didn't actually happen. It was added in the future after this event happened, so that was a difference in that accuracy. Except there was a scene in the movie that I provided in my Glogster, was the graveyard scene that's actually true. The head football coach of Marshall University takes the new players and the whole team to a grave site of 6 unidentified players of the team from the crash, and to remember them and kind of help them understand why it is important for the whole team and the history of the team. So I think it was really good that they included that. Personally, I love this film. I thought it was great, and I love sports movies, and I thought they did a really good job on not focusing too much on football and kind of still portraying the tragedy, which was what it was really about. Other critics said that they focused too much on football, but I think it was good to have comic relief in there so that it wasn't a totally depressing movie and it was still pleasing to watch for people. In the movie, they kind of portrayed that it was a huge fight for the football program to come back, and in the articles that I read, it seemed like it wasn't really that big of a debate, and the players that did survive, that weren't on the crash, were fighting for the program the day after it happened. So I think that they kind of portrayed that fight for the program a little too much, instead of when they could be focusing on the feelings of the people affected. But overall, I really loved the movie, and I really enjoyed it. It's one of my favorite movies now, even though it is always compared to other movies such as Remember the Titans and Glory Road. I personally loved it, and I would overall give it 4.5 stars.